how panicked are you about their division rival Ravens?
4, I would have to say. The Steelers, to Graz's point, are not cut from the cloth with a divisional title is won. Baltimore's got a great path coming up. Cleveland, the Jets, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Bengals. There is concern, though. Lamar, since he's returned, is averaging about 3.5 yards per carry. He doesn't look 100% right. That obviously has to raise some eyebrows.
Bart Scott, how panicked are you about the Green Bay Packers?
I'm going to get a solid 6. I think they have to have more from Jordan Love. He's going to have to carry this team. Ever since Kraft has been injured, it's going to be more on his shoulders. And his defense, this vaunted defense with Parson and Rashawn Gary came up empty last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, which puts more pressure on Jordan Love. I'm concerned because the Lions seem to be surging.
Now, yesterday on this show, we did a conversation, and Dan Orlovsky made the case that Jordan Love is actually playing quite well, and it's not his fault. And we went into that side of it. There's a lot of panic in Green Bay right now. We look at the Giants side of it. Jameis is starting, and if you want to see our picks, one of us has the Giants actually pulling the upset, and it is you, Bart. And Joe, you got him with the points here. But Bart, make the case for the Giants to beat the Packers on Sunday.
Special accommodation.
Explain yourself.
Explain my work. Listen, the beautiful thing about Jameis Winston is he's going to throw 5 touchdowns. You just don't know who he's going to throw them to. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can come out and look like the Jameis Winston last year with Cleveland that went and upset the Pittsburgh Steelers and was fine against that defense. Like, he's a guy that you just don't know. Like, he opens up so much space on the field, right? He's like trick or treat, right? You don't know what it's going to be. You know, he opens up so much space vertically, horizontally, because he has the arm talent to throw the ball wherever he wants. And listen, you always talk about when a coach gets fired, like the team becomes galvanized and they start playing inspired. This defense is much better than what they've shown, right? And maybe this defense stands on his head a little bit when you have an offense in Green Bay that struggled the week before, and Jameis Winston could surprise us with one of those 500-yard games.
Guys,
or he can throw 10 picks.
Guys, knowing the tone and the pulse of all these different markets, if the Packers were to lose to the Giants.
Oh, bad news.
I mean,
yeah.
There was an article in The Athletic this week saying that LaFleur should be on the hot seat.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know that for a fact that he is, but obviously hopes were higher, especially for the offense. Bart, you said that the defense came up empty against Philly. They gave up 10 points. In Green Bay's 3 losses this year, they've allowed 16, 13, and 10 points. Defense is fine. They only need the offense to be just good enough, and it should be much better than that. I think the Tucker Kraft injury is a big one because he was their big explosive play threat in the passing game. But he shouldn't be their only explosive play threat in the back. They should be able to scheme up explosives. They're just not doing it. They seem a little conservative. They seem a little timid. This is an opportunity. They should win this game handily. They should score a ton of points against the Giants. If they don't, I think we're having the same kinds of conversations about them next week that we've been having this week.
So I'll say, looking at this matchup, right, and I'll start on defense for the Green Bay Packers. It's not like you're going against a quarterback in Jameis Winston that's elusive. It can get away from pressure and utilize his legs. So with that being said, when I'm looking at Rashawn Gary and Michael Parsons, they should have a field day because I don't believe in the Giants and their offensive line like that. Michael Parsons being able to line up everywhere on the defensive line can pose problems for the Giants as well. Now, let me get to the offense of Green Bay.
Yeah, because
but here's what people have to understand.
It's been painful to watch this offense.
And I hear you, Strags, but coming into the season, you thought you were going to have Tucker Kraft, you thought you were going to have Jaden Reed, and you also thought you were going to have Matthew Golden. Their top 3 guys that they were expected to have from a pass-catching standpoint, they aren't even playing right now. So I think when it comes to Jordan Love, it's about moments and not having boneheaded plays. Jordan Love made some throws in the fourth quarter. You had 2 drops. You had one by Bo Melton. You had one by Dontavian Wicks. He can't catch it and throw it to himself.
But here's the thing. When you pay the guy $50+ million, you've given him years to grow into the role. At some point, you got to take what's around you, like Mahomes has had to do in Kansas City, and you got to find a way. It doesn't need to look pretty. It doesn't need to look great. But the eye test on Monday night, he looked lost and in panic mode in the fourth quarter of that game. He looked overwhelmed.
Well,
Winston can do that.
Was that part of the Eagles' defensive line and them getting pressure on the offensive line of Green Bay?
Jenkins is now out on the offensive line.
Pressure's a part of football.
But you have, if you're Jordan Love, you have a defense that allows you to take chances and be aggressive. Like, I mean, try some stuff. I don't think they need to play it as close to the vest as they did against the Eagles.
Real quick, Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator of the Packers, he is a Jersey native. He will be in front of that crowd.
Ooh.
There's an
opening about hand-eye coordination, body control, keeping your eyes on the football, making the catch. Hell of a throw from the quarterback, too.
From 2 knees.
Yes.
Reminds me of what Roddy White used to do in Atlanta.
Wow, just a random reference to Roddy Wright, Harry.
actually,
I'm thinking about great Atlanta wide receivers.
Roddy would have caught it the first time, though.
Okay, got it. It's a high school kid. Let's be kind. Let's get to the reading between the lines. And by the way, great catch. We should have said that at some point. The Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites on the road against the Broncos, who are 5-0 at home this season. I'm so confused. The Chiefs are out of the playoff picture. Joe, explain this line.
Well, let's start with this. If Denver was a 2-point favorite, how much money do you think would come flooding in the sports books on Kansas City? So a big part of this is liability. You have Patrick Mahomes. You have Andy Reid coming off a bye. You have a Chiefs team that, despite the record, is still very much a top 5 team in terms of Vegas power rankings. On the other side, what do we make of Denver? The record looks good, but look at the one-score games record. Look at the regression of Bo Nix. There's one thing when you look at the record, and there's the other thing what the eye test tells you. Denver isn't nearly as good as that record indicates.
Interesting. So, Graz, you're going to be on the sidelines for the radio call of this one. What do fans need to know about this matchup that they might not be getting anywhere else?
So Denver, elite defense, obviously. They've won 5 games this year where they lost the turnover battle, which is, I mean, that's ludicrous. And it tells you the offense has work to do and the defense is picking them up. It's a defense that's playing without Patrick Surtain, who's the reigning defensive player of the year, but they've made up for that. It's not going to have its leading tackler, Alex Singleton, because he had cancer surgery last week. He's going to be good, which is great, but he can't play this week. So they're fired up. They would tell you, and I was talking to Zach Allen, one of their defensive linemen yesterday, that last year they went 1-6 in one-score games, and they made that a point of emphasis this offseason. They thought if we pay attention to the right kinds of details, we can turn that around in our favor. And so far, their record indicates that they have.
6-2 in one-score games this year.
So we can sit here and say that stuff evens out over time. We're probably right. But in their minds, they feel like, hey, we did something, and they feel like they're better prepared to beat the Chiefs.
Harry, you will also be on the call. On the radio, you'll be in the booth. What are you looking at?
Starting with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, protecting him is the greatest thing that Kansas City can do. When you're looking at the Denver Broncos and their defensive line, they have 3 players at the top 15 in sacking a quarterback right now. They are relentless in doing so protecting Mahomes is at an all-time high. When I'm looking at the Denver Broncos offensively, it's about starting fast. They've had these slow starts all season long. I don't think you can afford a slow start versus Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and that offense of Kansas City. Bo Nix, can you play with confidence? Are you going to be confident? This is a game that you can't lose confidence in, especially who you're going against on the opposing side. He's sporadic in the pocket at times for no apparent reasons. He's leaving the pocket early for no apparent reasons. And when you look at certain throws that should be layups, he's not making those as well.
Bart, I look to you because we started the show and you were like, Drake May, I don't know. But the same record is in Denver, and there's a different vibe around Bo Nix right now.
Oh, so Jigger was wrong. Numbers can lie at times, right? Because it's not always the true indicator of what's going on. Like when you look at what's happening with Bo Nix, his feet is all out of place. Last week alone, he was 16 for 20 for 130. That's not sustainable. You know, this defense you're asking a lot of. And listen, one thing I trust is experience. And one thing Harry knows about November is when you make the dash for the cash, is when the cream rises to the top. That's right. And experience matters. That's why you see no panic
Cheese
in
for
Baltimore.
the taco.
Right. Cheese for the taco. And you talk about, Kansas City. They've been here before. They're not going to panic. They understand how important this game is. But does the pressure start to get to Bo Nix? Because he's heard the doubters saying that he's holding his team back. Does he press and maybe make more mistakes? He has to play at a better level.
When you watched them, you saw them against the Jets in London. What was your reaction?
I mean, listen, I wanted to gouge my eyes out. It was some of the worst football I've ever seen in my life. If I wasn't getting paid, I would have left at halftime.
Okay.
That's how bad it was.
And it hasn't gotten much better since. All right, the Bills are 5.5-point favorites. I mean, you can't get better than that. At home against the Buccaneers. Buffalo is coming off an ugly loss to the Dolphins last week. A question we're all wondering what's going on with the Bills. A game in which they were 8.5-point favorites. So why, Joe, are the Bills coming off that game 5.5-point favorites against Tampa?
It's still Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills at home in a game that could have some weather concerns. Again, just like Kansas City, despite the record, Vegas still views Buffalo as a team that's top 5, top 6 in the power rankings. And with the home field advantage and the resiliency coming off the loss, all those sort of factors, you're going to see a number like this. Now, on the other side, let's look at Tampa. You're coming off a bye. That's a pretty lousy loss last week when you're hosting New England in Florida. Remember, the big thing about Miami last week was, the humidity got to the Bills. Well, the humidity could have gotten to the Patriots, and it didn't. They ran right over them. Tampa's been good this year, but not great. They were 4-1 in one-score games prior to that matchup last week with the Patriots. They're a team that's kind of on the descent here. That offense has been sputtering the last 3 games.
Harry, I go to you because last year at this time it was Josh Allen's having maybe the greatest season we've ever seen by a quarterback.
Yeah.
And now we're talking they might miss the playoffs. Josh Allen's fault or everyone around him?
I think it's a little bit of both. When you look at Josh Allen in the games that they've lost, he's turned the football over. And that's one of the things that he did a great job of a season ago, and that's why he won the MVP. I would also say there's a reason why he's probably turning the football over, because he feels he has to press and be Superman every single time he takes the snap for the center. So when I'm looking at this ballgame versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who outside of Josh Allen and James Cook can complement those two guys and make plays? Dalton Kincaid doesn't look like he's going to be out there. He has a hamstring injury. Khalil Shakir, he's dealing with ribs and an ankle. So Keon Coleman, Dawson Knox, Joshua Palmer, can you guys step up and make plays for the Buffalo Bills to give them an opportunity to win this ball game at home?
Graz, I look at this game and it's like both teams are potential playoff squads, and it feels like one team has a lot more pressure on this one.
Well, it's Buffalo because they're chasing the team that won last night in their own division, the New England Patriots, who went into Buffalo earlier this year and beat them. So Tampa Bay is still in first place, as banged up as they are, as tough a go as they've had of it recently. And there doesn't, no offense here, there doesn't seem to be anyone in their division that's going to press them.
Like no, you said it right, Graz.
There doesn't seem to be.
No damn homer today.
So I don't.
You said it right, Graz.
Obviously, Buccaneers don't want to lose the game, but they can probably afford to on a different level. The Bills, who have this AFC East winning streak of 5 years in a row, they need this win in order to stay within shouting distance of New England.
Bart, you're obviously an AFC East guy when you were playing with the Jets, and it went from the Patriots to the Bills. Is that window closing in Buffalo?
I believe it is, and they've pushed all their chips into the middle of the table multiple times, and I understand that it's hard for windows to close when you have an MVP caliber quarterback in Josh Allen, but they need him to be Clark Kent, and that's what Joe Brady brought, because he brought balance in making the offense go through James Cook. And now he's asking some of these, no-name, I don't want to call them no-name receivers, but none of them would be a number one on most teams. And, Keon Coleman hasn't stepped up to be a number one receiver. And listen, you talk about the humidity got to Buffalo. Ask anybody that's been in that division. South Beach got to Buffalo, and I think they overlooked their opponent.
Okay.
And you know what I'm saying? Could have been, it's to shake them up.
That's it.
Real quick. Josh Allen threw for 300.
Don't you name those establishments.
I think he's making
Don't you name those establishments.
Real quick, before we get to the next one, you mentioned someone in the pre-show meeting, Mac Hollins, and why they might be missing him, and he's now with the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't think he was appreciated in Buffalo. He's a gritty guy, very physical, blocking the run game, he can make catches, and we see him right now, what he's doing for the New England Patriots. Yeah. They're missing a guy like Mac Hollins right now in Buffalo. You might not have thought so in the offseason, but it's the proof is in the pudding now.
Absolutely. All right, the Vikings are 2.5-point favorites at home against the Bears. This is going to be a rematch of that Monday Night Football game in Week 1. J.J. McCarthy's coming out party. He led them back from a double-digit fourth-quarter deficit. Bears have won 6 of 7, and yet they're underdogs in Minnesota. Joe, why?
All right, I'm not saying this. I love the people of Chicago, but some are saying this. The Bears, they're fugazi. You look at the record this year, they're too dependent on the opponent committing a ton of turnovers for them to win. 6 victories this season, 19 takeaways in those 6 victories. In their 3 losses, 1 takeaway. This defense, by several measures, I mean, you can look at the most basic stuff. They're a bottom 5 outfit, and if they're not forcing turnovers and stumbling into them, they're going to have problems. Minnesota should be able to run on them in this game.
They should, however. It felt like J.J. McCarthy had maybe a step back last week. Harry Douglas, you've done the work. You've looked at it. You've seen it close up. What's your take on McCarthy?
I was on the call last week with Steve Levy, the Vikings versus the Ravens, and I want to show y'all a tape. When it comes to J.J. McCarthy, it's about understanding situational football and also hitting your layups. You have 3rd and 6 right here on this play. The Vikings are up 10-3. Just under 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. 3rd and 6. Why not J.J. McCarthy? Because you're a very athletic quarterback. Run and go pick up that first down. Instead, he decides to throw it downfield. It gets intercepted. I believe that's Malachi Starks. Here, you have a simple screen play to the running back. That's why I have the quarterback and the running back highlighted. Throws the ball entirely too hard and too high for the running back. Here, you have a simple, deep, I would say, out route, or you should say sail route by Justin Jefferson. Look at the clean pocket that J.J. McCarthy has. I want y'all to watch where this football ends up. Over Justin Jefferson's head, where he can't even catch it. So for J.J. McCarthy, it's about, number 1, remaining calm, being cool, calm, and collected, making the layups when they present themselves. And you cannot be sporadic. You have the best wide receiver in the game. Justin Jefferson had 12 targets and only 4 catches. Oof. And there were a lot more throws like that last one to Justin Jefferson in that ballgame.
Graz, what are you hearing on McCarthy?
Yeah, I think it's time. Like I understand he's only played 4 games and you want to cut him a break. Fair enough. But they let 2 guys leave the building in the offseason that are MVP candidates, in Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold right now. And the reason they did that is because they expected J.J. McCarthy to be able to keep this train running. They won 14 games last year.
They did.
They're not going to win 14 games this year. So he's got to show something. Schedule starts to ease out. This is a defense, to Joe's point, only 4 teams in the league have allowed more points per game this year than the Bears. If J.J. McCarthy doesn't look good this weekend against Chicago's defense, then I think we have legitimate reason to worry about him going forward. This is an opportunity for a breakout game for J.J. McCarthy.